have you joining us and being a part of our meeting, choosing to be with us this evening. Welcome to Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club. And tonight's meeting theme is Story Tell It. Join us for an inspiring meeting where we will be educated and entertained, where you will learn how to lead by storying around. Just to remind us exactly what we are doing here and what Toastmasters is all about, so that we are all on the same page, all on the same mindset as we go forward. Toastmasters International is a non-profit educational organization that teaches public speaking and leadership skills through a worldwide network of clubs. Our mission is that we provide, like any other Toastmasters club, is that we provide a positive, supportive, and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Specifically here at Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters is that we help Toastmasters become advanced speakers through in-depth evaluations and targeted education sessions. Every meeting is designed to challenge your skills, stretch your abilities, and equip you to deliver speeches with greater impact and confidence. At this point in time, I would like to invite our acting Sergeant at Arms, Sarah Wanjiku, to please share the meeting rules. Over to you, Sarah. You're muted, Sarah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Welcome to Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club. These will be our guidelines for our online experience. I will start with the online club meeting statement. By attending this remote club meeting, you agree to privacy policy of the Toastmasters International, as well as the unassociated remote hosting service. Some of your personal information, such as your name, image, and any shared messages may be shared with other meeting participants and will be recorded by Toastmasters International, who may use the recording in the future as it sees fit. Your remote attendance hereby discharges Toastmasters International from all claims, demands, rights, promises, damages, and liabilities arising out of or in connection with the use or distribution of the said video recordings, including but not limited to any claims for invasion of privacy, appropriation of likeness, or defamation. The remaining convention is as it is right there on the screen. Our chat master will be sharing it on the chat. Kindly note, if you have a role, you will have the hashtag sign in front of your name for easy identification. For our Toastmasters without roles and our non-Toastmasters, kindly do not use the hashtag as you rename yourself to help distinguish our functionaries this evening. Remember to kindly keep your video on throughout the meeting if that is possible. Mute your microphone unless it is your turn to speak. Engage using reaction buttons and the chat, and give feedback and vote when the polls are launched. Enjoy, visit again, and become a member. Over to you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Sarah Wanjiku, for giving us those rules that are going to guide us. Sarah Wanjiku is also the Secretary Treasurer of Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club. And before you go, let me ask you a question. What is your favorite story, written or acted or even spoken?
My favorite story on how I bet the Kenyan education system after getting what we call a disco. Some young ones may not know what that is. This is when the university decides that you have failed everything and you need to go home. So I figured out a way to go back and I finally got my degree. Yes.
That is a fantastic story. Not spoken, written, or acted, but actually lived out by Sarah Wanjiku. And just to introduce our exco, the exco of Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club, my name is Robert Karanja. I'm the club president, and my favorite story is from the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, specifically The Wolves of the Color. It's such an engaging and captivating story that I keep listening to over and over again. Other members of our executive committee are Dr. Kevin Rubia, who is our Vice President Education, Gilbert Rutembembero, who is the President Membership, Maggie Waithiru, who is the Vice President Public Relations, and our Sergeant at Arms is Tigist Hailu, and our immediate past president is Kevin Kimbio. I would like to give an opportunity for those of us joining us for the first time, or even for the second or third or fourth or even more times, to please tell us where you're joining us from this evening. And we would love to hear what is your favorite story, whether written, acted, or spoken. Anybody who would like to introduce themselves and tell us where you're joining us from this evening? We have quite a number of people at this meeting. Just feel free to unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Isaac Kavuma. I'm from Uganda, Kampala, Kamocha in particular. My favorite story was I've actually not thought of it, but maybe my favorite. I don't know, trust me, but it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Kavuma Isaac, for joining us this evening from Kamoja in Uganda. If you remember your favorite story, please put it in the chat later in the meeting. It's really great to have you here. Anybody else would like to introduce themselves and tell us where you're joining us from?
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Jackie Balungi. Again for Kampala, Naguru specifically. I'm a member of Kampala Sunrise Toastmasters Club. And my favorite story is a folk tale in Buganda called Njabala.
Very nice.
It's about a lazy girl. Really, not lazy, but she was given the princess treatment by her mother and was raised delicate. So she has to marry, and then her mother has to return from the grave to do her chores. I like it because it has songs in it and it's impossible to forget. Yes.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Absolutely. It sounds like an captivating story. Stories with songs definitely are very difficult to forget. Maybe one more opportunity for our guests to introduce themselves. Anybody who would like to tell us where you're joining us from?
Hello.
Hey.
I'm Janet from Tanzania, Dar es Salaam City.
Right.
I'm a guest. I'm so happy to join you. I think it's my second time. I just have a favorite story.
No,
It's actually
I
funny.
told you I'm in a meeting.
Yes, Janet.
It was my first day to take up a how do I call this? A flight.
Right.
It was my first time actually. So I read the time vice versa. So instead of reading the time to for the flight to departure, so I thought the time to departure it was the time to arrive in the airport. So I went very confident, wearing glittering clothes. So at the time I arrived to the shuttle place to take my bus to the airport, I was just told one word that you're late, go back home. It was very actually sad and very cheering story. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Janet. Absolutely. That is quite devastating. We are glad you can laugh about it after all this time. And thank you so much for joining us this evening, all the way from Dar es Salaam, and we hope you have an amazing time. Welcome to the rest of us joining us this evening. Before we proceed with the meat of the meeting, I would like to go through some club business. First of all, the minutes of the previous meeting are going to be shared in due course, and we're going to adopt them together with the minutes of the next meeting. So during the next meeting, we're going to adopt 2 sets of meetings. And something else, just to celebrate Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club, drum rolls, we are officially a distinguished club, and it's all thanks to the amazing EXCO and the members of our club. We've really worked hard for that. Our target is to be at least select distinguished by the end of this year, so we keep soldiering forward. Thank you so much for all our speakers, for all the guests who have supported us over the last couple of months, and to all our amazing members who are dedicated to their own personal growth. And so continue to remind us that we are still accepting renewals, and if you'd like to join Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club, or if you're a member who hasn't renewed, please feel free to reach out to our Secretary Treasurer, Sarah Wanjiku, on how to go about renewing your membership. We're going to have our club elections on the 8th of May. This is during the next meeting, towards the end of that meeting. So members of our Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club, please plan to attend that meeting, and also we will be glad to have all our guests joining us on that meeting. We have been receiving nominations so far, and according to the rules of how the elections work, I would like to share those nominations at this point in time in preparations for the election meeting. So our nomination committee was chaired by Kevin Kimbio, and so far the people that have been nominated and have been, we are confident can fill these roles and execute them very well. First of all, nominations for the club president of the year 2026-2027 is DTM Kevin Rubia, Vice President Education Fatma Amiyo, Vice President Membership Kevin Kimbio, Vice President Public Relations Sarah Wanjiku, Club Secretary DTM Mine Maina, Club Treasurer DTM Magi Waithiru, and Sergeant at Arms Catherine Bosibori Aruyaru. So during the next meeting, we are going to vote those members into office. And thank you so much for volunteering yourselves to serve Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club. Keep your videos on to remind us, especially during the prepared speeches, to offer visual, positive, and supportive feedback to our members. And tonight's meeting is going to be guided by our Toastmaster of the day, who will lead us through prepared speeches, impromptu speaking, and evaluations, all tied together by our theme, Story Tell It. Daphne Furlonge is joining us from a different corner of the world, Montserrat. Actually, I didn't realize it's not just the name of a font, but it's actually a place. And it is near Antigua, and she is the founder of MNI Speakers, a club she chartered in 2020 when she realized there is no Toastmasters Club in Montserrat. MNI Speakers is part of District 81 and Region 7. So let's put our hands together, use the emojis to welcome our Toastmaster of the day, Daphne. Over to you, Daphne, and thank you so much for steering this meeting.
One warm September day in 2013, I realized that the ceaseless bleeding I had been experiencing was not random. It was cancer. In that moment, fear could have taken over, but instead, I became aware of a still, calm voice within me, quietly saying, "You are going to be fine." I believed. I am fine. Will you believe your still calm voice? Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. Under our theme, Storytell It, we explore this simple but powerful truth. Facts tell, but stories connect and sell. And just as I did, every person who comes to the virtual lectern this evening is challenged to pick a moment from their life and craft a 30-second narration. you will have a grace period of 15 seconds because I realize 30 seconds is short, but try and stick to within that grace period. Now, whilst your fact tells you what happened, when a story is narrated, you experience it, your audience experiences it. Carmine Gallo reminds us that the most influential communicators are not those with the most data, but those who can wrap their message in a story that moves people to act. Paul Smith goes even further when he tells us that storytelling is not about performance, it is about connection. And I actually really liked Paul Smith because Paul Smith is talking about storytelling for business. And for those of us who are in business, or if we work for someone and we have to do sales, this book I found to be really good. Now, a well-told story makes, connects, and helps you to act. That, Toastmasters and guests, is the power of storytelling, which is why we like storytelling. Stories engage the mind. They stir our emotions and they leave a lasting imprint. They turn ordinary moments into moments of memorable messages. And you are speakers into storytellers. This evening, I want you to listen, not just for the words, but for the journey, the emotion, and any meaning that there may be behind the message. Every speaker tonight is here because they carry a story that is worth telling. Now, Watabaruku Toastmasters Club is like many other clubs within a Toastmasters, and the meeting is laid out into 3 sections. We're going to skip one section this evening. So we have our prepared speeches and our evaluations. Table topics this evening will be held because there's an 18 to 22 minute speech, which will take up quite a substantial amount of time. With functionaries, so it's nice to be up here and to be leading the meeting, but there are additional individuals who assist, and they're called functionaries. Our functionaries this evening are, and each functionary comes to the lectern. You're asked to do a 30-second narration. Take a moment of time in your life and do a 30-second narration or story on that particular moment in time. As I said, you have a 15-second grace period. So our first functionary this evening is our super grammarian, Cedric. Cedric, can you please tell us your 30-second narration and what your role entails?
Joining Toastmasters has been one of the most important moments in my journey, as it transformed my confidence, shaped my voice, and empowered me to grow into a more impactful and communicator and leader. Today, I will be serving as the super grammarian. And as my role as the super grammarian is as a super grammarian, I will carefully listen to everyone, and I will be taking note of excellent and improper uses of language, our use words or filler words, and our usage of the word of the day. The word of the day is narration. We pronounce it as narration. You can try it in your background, but don't mute your mic. Narration can be used as a noun, adjective, or verb. The word of the day has the following derivatives: narration, narrate, narrative, or narratively. Word of the day means to tell a story or to describe an event or to report what just happened in the previous period. And an example of the usage of the word of the day in the sentence is, for example, the way they narrated their journey made the room come alive. Whenever someone mentions word of the day or its derivatives, please acknowledge them by 1, snapping your fingers, or 2, using the hand clap emoji. Let me see the hand clap emoji in the room. I will also present brief language evaluation for each piece and give my full report when called upon. Back to you.
Now that our grammarian, or super grammarian, we cannot forget super, I've narrated his story and told what his function entails, we're going to hear from our timer. Our timer this evening is Susan. Susan, please narrate your 30-second story and then tell us what your role entails. Susan, the virtual lectern is yours.
Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and guests. For the longest time, I've had this false narrative that anything I say, anything I do, the people around me are listening carefully and even judging my moves, the way I dress, the way I talk, the way I communicate. They are all judging me. And what these have done for the longest time is make me shrink. I've found myself in forums, a question is asked, but I fear raising my hand to share my opinion or an answer. Until recently, I read a book by Brené Brown, Daring Greatly, and it opened up my mind to think and observe that the people who show up as their true, authentic self in life are the people I find attracted to, are the people I want to hear more of what they're talking about. And these friends has made me begin a journey and believe, you know what, Susan, you're worthy.
30
Show
seconds,
up.
45 seconds, up long time, story over, function please.
Okay, I'll go right into my role today. As the timer, my role is to keep time using virtual backgrounds. I will maintain a blue background with the word timer, change to green, yellow, and red, each displaying the word of the day narration. For prepared speeches and the general evaluator's report, it will take 5 to 7 minutes. I'll show the green card at 5 minutes, the yellow card at 6 minutes, and the red card at 7 minutes. Although we have an 18 to 22 minutes speech, I'll show the green card at 18 minutes, 20 minutes I'll show the yellow card, and 22 minutes I'll show the red card. Language evaluations are 1 to 2 minutes. I'll show the green at 1 minute, the yellow at 1 minute 30 seconds, and the red at 2 minutes. For content and delivery evaluations and the super grammarians report, they are 2 to 3 minutes. I'll show the green at 2 minutes, yellow at 2 minutes 30 seconds, and red at 3 minutes. All speakers will appear in the polls, but only those within the qualifying time will be eligible for awards. Therefore, let us aim to reach green and conclude within the 30 seconds of red. Back to you, Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you for narrating your story as well as telling us the objectives of your particular group. We'll now hear from our topics master. So even though we're not going to have table topics, our topics master will tell us his 30-second story and what table topic he's about. Our table topic's master would have been Robert. Robert, please let's hear.
One of the most amazing things that happened when I moved to a different country and I was interacting with people who speak a different language is that I struggled very much to get simple things like ordering food. I remember one day I got so confused that I started shouting at the phone on the person who was supposed to deliver my food and saying, I cannot speak English. I cannot speak English. And I meant I can only speak English. And so in my confusion, I got completely lost. Table topics is an opportunity for us to practice our public speaking, where the table topics master comes up with a list of questions, and we have 1 to 2 minutes to respond to that question, where we put our thoughts together and do our best to present a well-organized speech in that bit of time. And it is to prepare us to speak on our feet in other speaking situations outside Toastmasters. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much, Mr. President Robert, for that succinct narration. It felt like you stayed within your time. Now we're going to hear from our general evaluator, and we're going to find out if he can do so in 30 to 45 seconds. Jared, please tell us what we can expect from you later on, and at the same time, give us your 30-second narration. Pick a moment in time in your life and craft a story around it. Jared. I know you're here. Yeah.
Good evening. If you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, my role is to look through the meeting, every segment of the meeting, and then in the evening, so at the end, give a feedback on areas of improvement and how we will have done. I will do my narration at the end. May I, when I'm taking the role. Thank you.
If I hear you will do your narration later, Jared. That 30-second story that we're waiting to hear about you.
Yes. You're right. Thank you.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to our prepared speeches. We have 2 prepared speeches this evening. First, one will be done by Clive, and the second one will be done by Fatma. I'm going to call on the content evaluator for Clive to give us some idea of what she is looking for as she listens to the speech being delivered by Clive. Content evaluator, Helen, as you come to the stage, please narrate the story given to you by Clive in 30 seconds, and then tell us the objectives of his speech. Over to you, Helen.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the day. Good evening, Watabaruku, Advanced Toastmasters and fellow Toastmasters and guests. Our first speaker is Toastmaster Clive Asande. I will narrate Clive's story. Clive is a father of 2, a boy and a girl. He is a husband to 1, and his best memory was 22 years ago when Arsenal won the Premier League. Clive is undertaking a level 2 project under the presentation mastery path, which is understanding his communication style. The purpose of his project is to learn about different communication styles and identify his primary style. Clive has 5 to 7 minutes. Clive says communication is not just about words, it's about style and delivery. The title of his speech is Why People Don't Hear What You Say. Clive Asande, why people don't hear what you say? Why people don't hear what you say? Clive Asande.
Welcome him.
Have you ever explained something so clearly, so explicitly, and yet the counterparty does not understand? All you hear are crickets. Ladies and gentlemen, this happens most of the time where we assume that communication has taken place, whereas it was just you talking and the counterparty just there and crickets ringing in your head. For those of us here who have house managers, when you tell them, do you know to prepare good food, especially when you're interviewing them, what do you mean? What is good food? If you're like me and you spent 4 years eating maize and beans for lunch, good food is anything apart from maize and beans. If you come from the coast, good food is fish and rice. If you come from the western part of Kenya, good food is ugali and meat. I like to point out 3 aspects that you should look out for to ensure that communication between you and your counterparty has taken place. There are many, however, I'm going to narrow them to 3, top 3. Number 1, there are those people who listen to respond. They can't wait for you to finish for them to give you their answer or what they had in your head. You could talk all day, but they still go with what they had in place. That is one barrier when it comes to communication. So when you find yourself talking to your colleagues at work, talking to your children, and they're eager for them or for you to finish, and then they give you their response, red flag, no, there's a problem, and communication might not have taken place. Number 2, there's this aspect of style, and I've learned it just a week ago while undertaking my project. We have different styles of communication. We have those who like it fast, be specific, be gone. There's those who like figures, come with facts, come with stories, come with evidence. All these are different styles of communication. For you to ensure that communication has taken place, you need to ensure that your style befits your counterparty. If you go to somebody who wants facts, who want it fast, and for you to be gone, and to start stories, start going into details, for sure, you're going to lose your counterparty. Number 3, which is key, is got to do with emotions. People will not remember what you said, but how you said it. In this part of the world, we like to call it attitude. Corporate speak, we also say that person has an attitude. It all boils down to the emotion. How are you putting it? How was your frame of mind when you're saying it? You could be saying one thing with different emotion states, and the recipient will pick it differently. Ladies and gentlemen, I beseech you, be careful when communicating. What is your tone? What is your emotional state? How are you interacting with your counterparty? How is the emotional state on the other side? Are they in a good state to hear? For instance, I'll give you an example. About 4 years ago, I was traveling in a public service vehicle. There was a lady in front, her phone rang. And the message that she was given is that she had lost a loved one. Was it prudent for the person who called? I don't know who called. It could be a relative or a friend. We don't know that. But was it prudent for that person to talk or to mention or to give the message that he wanted to pass about the passing on of the son, which I could pick from the conversation? No. And at that point, as the fellow travelers with the lady. How do you approach her? We don't know her. We just met her for the first time. How do you interact with her? So ladies and gentlemen, her emotional state, by the way she was wailing, you could not just talk to her and talk to her badly, quote unquote, or try to calm her down. It was very hard to do. However, given that we understood what she was going through, a prudent person will find a good way, in which a lady we were traveling with did, and managed to calm her down. I hope I've convinced you about the three aspects that make communications take place. There could be more than that. I'm just stating my three facts, and I hope these three facts are going to help you. Number one, know your style of communication. Know the style of the person, the counterparty that you're communicating with. Number two, get to know if this counterparty is just listening to respond and not listening to understand. Number three, and which is key, get to know the emotional state of the person you're talking to, and also get to know your emotional state as you're communicating. And to end, I'd like to leave you with this one. Communication only takes place when there is shared meaning. Toastmasters of the day. Thank you.
Had to change computers because I just could not hear. So I'm probably not quite set up yet, but I will do so as we go along. Now, as we listen to Clive's narration, we should have been listening to hear three important elements that every story should carry: a moment in time, a conflict, and a transformation or resolution. Did we hear that? The audience feedback form is on the screen. Please complete. One minute on the clock to complete that.
One minute is up, Madam Toastmaster of the day. You can continue.
Thank you, Madam Timer. So now we're going to hear from our third speaker. And then our third speaker is presenting an 18 to 22-minute speech, which means we're looking to hear all of the stories that he includes in his presentation this evening. So listen for them, and remember, a story should contain a moment in time, a conflict, and a resolution. I will now call on the content evaluator, Nellie, to tell us the objectives of our second speaker, Fatma, speech. She will also narrate the short story that she received from Fatma. Nellie, the virtual lectern is yours.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Daphne. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Fatma Amiyo is, let me tell you my story first. A story in time. I remember a few years ago, or many years ago, when I visited Italy and I visited the town of Assisi. I was mesmerized by the cathedrals, the way they were beautified but that's a story to narrate another day. Fatma Amiyo is attempting her speech, prepared to speak professionally. The objectives of her speech are to deliver an engaging keynote-style speech. The speech may be humorous or any style she chooses. Fatma should demonstrate excellent presentation skills and deliver a compelling content. Her speech title is Behind the Flip Chart. It's an 18 to 22 minutes. Her pathway is presentation mastery, level 5, and her project is prepared to speak professionally. The purpose of this project is Fatma is practicing to develop and presenting a long speech. Fatma Amiyo, Behind the Flip Chart. Behind the Flip Chart, Fatma Amiyo.
Let's welcome her.
How many of you have ever made a presentation or delivered a session? How many have ever facilitated by a show of hands? I'm not seeing the hands clearly. Yes, at least I'm not alone. This is certainly an amazing audience. In the sessions you have facilitated, do you use flip charts? By show of hands, how many of us use flip charts? Thank you. So at least we are familiar with the flip charts. Today, fellow Toastmasters and guests, I will take us through facilitating and what happens behind the scenes. My evaluator confirmed that you can see my slides. Don't know why it is not moving. Confirm you can see my slide. Just give me a minute, let me reshare. I think it is having a slight challenge. Let me reshare again. There we are. My love for flip charts started when I was a second year at university. By then, I was facilitating sessions around peer education. And thereafter, facilitation became my craft. For almost 2 decades, I have been facilitating. I have been in different rooms, facilitating different audiences, writing on different flip charts, and for sure, experiencing very varied experiences within this different facilitation. I'd like to find out, what do you do to ensure that you nurture your facilitation skills? Anyone who can type in the chats, what do you do to ensure that you become better and you're not just sticking to the flip charts? May I call upon our general evaluator, Jared? You can just unmute with us. What do you do to nurture and improve on your facilitation skills? Jared, over to you. You can just unmute and share.
Thank you. One of the things that I use to enhance facilitation is visual aids. And one that I use is a flip chart or a whiteboard. I found it very helpful because it helps me to engage the people's subconscious mind by drawing pictures or giving narratives or just jotting down the points that I'd like to use. So I found it quite helpful in terms of enhancing my communication with a group, and especially when it comes to narrowing down to an individual, when I call them to use the flip chart or to use the whiteboard, they can and actually share exactly what is in their subconscious mind, which they cannot see. So I find it very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jared, for sharing that experience and ways in which you're able to improve your facilitation. Yeah, I take any opportunity that comes my way to build on my competences. This year, I attended the Speaker to Trainer program hosted by the Toastmasters Leadership Institute. And if any of you who are here, you've not taken up that program, I highly encourage you to do so. So when we are looking at an effective facilitator, we always think about three important roles. And the first is the architect. Think of the architect as the chief designer, thinking about the blueprint, think of the roadmap, because ultimately when you're thinking about facilitation, remember it is not an end in itself, it's a means towards the end. As an architect, what are you supposed to be doing? Remember the blueprint. This is where you structurally design your program. What do you hope to achieve? And that brings us to the purpose. Any great facilitator must clearly identify their purpose. The purpose will help you to draw up a very clear agenda. This is what will give you a roadmap on developing the objectives, which means that many at times we may have so much to deliver, but constrained in terms of time. So we must adjust our narrations to fit the time we have. Remember, as you're crafting your purpose, it will help you to align your content so that if you have must to know, need to know, would be nice to know, you're able to know how best to package that. What I usually do is to have a conversation with the client to identify what exactly would you want us to deliver. That way, we have a very clear way forward on the purpose. The next thing the architect does is determine the context. One day when I was very naive, right after campus, I had gone to facilitate a session with a community deep in the village. That community was highly patriarchal. That meant that any program that is happening within that area, you go and talk to them, you would find elderly men there. Culturally, it was considered insensitive when a female is addressing this audience. I was naive. I didn't ask, I didn't know. When I stood to have a conversation, I noticed that something was off. And quickly, someone who was kind enough came and told me, Madam, I think you need to sit and let someone else carry on. From then, henceforth, that was a very clear lesson that anytime I am designing a facilitation session, I must understand the context behind it. Within organizations, we have different contextual expectations. For instance, in some organizations, the entry and exit must be accompanied by a senior leader within the organization to officially open and officially close the program. That means that you must be ushered in. You can't just come without having that smooth entry and the protocols that are in the organization. So please remember, as you're designing, you must understand the context of your session and the environment they are in. The third most important thing for the architect is the user. Who are your participants? Fellow Toastmasters and guests, you cannot design a session without thinking about your participants. Who are you going to be addressing? Think about their demographics, their age. Young people may be amenable to certain activities. Older participants may not appreciate when you start telling them, stand, sit, stand, sit. They may think that you have become a little bit childish. That would not be well tolerated. You think about your participants, you're also thinking about their level. Are they senior executives? New entrants who are joining the organization, what is their level of experience so that as you narrate, you're able to connect? Participants are also about the numbers. Can you imagine planning for a facilitation session where you have planned for 10 and all of a sudden you have 100? I am sure the room may not be able to accommodate the numbers, meaning that maybe you needed to have asked very clear questions about the participants who will be expected in that session. As the architect, you must remember that you can have a very energized session, but if there is a lack of clarity in terms of the order and how things will flow, I assure you, you will lead nowhere. Once you're done with your design and your architectural plans, you now move to the second, which is the pilot. I was pleased when I had someone giving the experience about their flight. The pilot is very, very instrumental in any facilitation session. Remember, the pilot will not allow us to start the flight if they have not ensured that they have done their pre-flight checks. What is entailed in the pre-flight checks? Ensuring that if we need workbooks, these workbooks are well designed, they're well prepared, they are available, they are in sight. Ensuring that our venue is well prepared. Whether it is a hybrid which requires the technical components, or it's an in-person venue, is everything in check? Do we have everything that we require? Do we have all the supportive roles who must be there for our flight to be smooth? All the documentation would be done so that then we are cleared to start our journey. So as a pilot, remember, you must do that everything that ought to be done is done in good time, including the coordination meeting, so that we agree, I will take this session, I will discuss this, I will get to this part. If there's someone else, we have to coordinate so that our flight is safe, but also smooth. Once this is done, we come to a very important segment, which is the takeoff. This is where we want to ensure that there is smooth takeoff. You don't want to start off the journey with a rough takeoff. You want to ensure that this pilot is experienced. And how do we do that in facilitation? We agree on the expectations. One time, we were facilitating a program in an organization. And it was very clear that we had a tight program and we had to do everything. So we wanted to start a little bit earlier than 8 and end at 6. We had made all these programs, we had printed, we had planned how we are going to do all this. And right at the start, we realized this would not be acceptable. They told us very clearly, our work starts at 8 and ends at 5. So if you decide to start a bit earlier, please allow us to come in at 8. And if there's anything to be done thereafter, please allow us to leave at 5. You realize that there must be a shared understanding. This is where you need to negotiate. You need to have clarity on the expectations. How about ground rules? They must be discussed. What time will we do what? What are the activities? Remember, the pilot will always make that announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, this is flight, and they would tell you about where we are headed to and the duration it takes, and they would tell you what you need to do to ensure that we are able to have a safe flight. Toastmasters and guests, if the expectations are not shared at the onset, we will have a very bumpy ride. Once this is done, we move on to the next important segment, which is the landing. I don't know how many of you have observed. In many sessions, there might be a gap at the landing. Because if we have not managed our time, we realize that all of a sudden we need to rush. We need to just conclude and finalize because time is up. As a good facilitator, please remember, you started off with a smooth. Please ensure that the landing is also smooth. You had clear objectives within the purpose. If the deliverable is that we must have an action plan, ensure that we have clarity on the action plan. Because if you do not, then it means that the session would not have met its objectives. How many of you have facilitated sessions on autopilot mode? You just go there and let things just move the way they would. Maybe a strategy, but remember what we are looking at is a great facilitator. A great facilitator ensures that once they have mastered what it is in terms of their instrument and they have key everything, they would still monitor, just in case we may have a turbulence. If there is a time overrun, how do we course correct? How do we ensure that we will still be able to get to our destination as agreed? Toastmasters and guests, once the pilot has safely done their role, we move on to the next important role, which is the guide. Where are the hikers in this meeting? Please raise your hand if you enjoy hiking. Where are you? I know our president is, yes, I see Leah, I see people. Oh, thank you very much. Hikers, could you tell me if I was purportedly your guide to, say, Mount Kenya, and then in our conversations I tell you, this is my first time to go to Mount Kenya. Will you trust me to take you there? Would you trust a stranger who hasn't taken that path to guide you towards a new hiking destination? I'm sure you would be a little bit hesitant. And the questions you usually ask when you're asking a guide is their experience, whether they have the credibility, they have navigated the path so that you can trust them with that particular task. Friends, as a guide, you ensure that you lead in the navigation. You're the one with the binoculars. You're the one who has moved that particular path. You're the most experienced person when it comes to just organizing and ensuring that everyone understands what it is that they are meant to do. So you must ask yourself, how do you portray yourself? Are you confident? Do people feel safe and assured when you are guiding them? You must start by being a role model. If you set rules, you have to be the first one to ensure that you abide by the rules. The second important role a guide plays is team development. Remember, as a guide, it's never about you. For those who have been hiking, where is the guide? Can the guide just be at the front moving and all of us are behind? No, that's not a good guide. A guide ensures that we are all moving together. And the guide knows when to come in to assist you and when they also let you be you. Because within teams, we have different stages. From that time, performing and norming, and then you will perform, and eventually we shall adjourn. So a guide will ensure that they create an environment where everyone is confident to go through the process, but the guide will not leave you on your own. They will always create an environment where you feel that you're well taken care of. The third role is decision making. As a good facilitator, remember, decisions must be made. You have to encourage participation. Whether you're going to allow those introverted to write something here because they don't want their voices to be heard, or the brave ones, you can give them a pen and tell them, can you write what your ideas are? But eventually, we must move forward because as a great facilitator, remember, we have the objectives. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, the next time you are facilitating a session, remember, we may be in love with the flip chart, but we have important roles to think about. The architect that comes in to ensure our purpose is clear, our context is on point, and we have an understanding of our participants. We must ensure that we consider the pilot who does the pre-flight checks, ensures that we have smooth takeoff and smooth landing. And in the course of the flight, they are also able to course correct to reduce the level of turbulence. And the guide to ensure that they lead in the navigation. They ensure that our team is moving together. And lastly, the decisions that are made are in line with the objectives. I urge you to always get opportunities to improve on your facilitation skills, because ultimately, Toastmasters, a leader must facilitate. From time to time, you must be there to ensure that the experience of your team members is guided through your narrations, but also how you're able to narrate this particular journey. I wish you the best as you lead the next facilitation session. Remember, you are the architect, you are the pilot, and you are the guide. All the best, and back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you very much, Fatma. We heard several stories within that narration. So it allowed us to gain a deeper understanding of the information that Fatma was sharing. I am now going to call for the poll or the evaluation. 1 minute to evaluate Fatma's speech by everyone. Please share that, yes? Are we going to do a 1 minute evaluation of Fatma's speech by everyone? Can we do that first?
We will start with the poll
Okay.
and then the audience feedback. Thank you. Let us keep voting, please. We are 28 in the room and only 18 of us have participated in the poll. Kindly confirm that the audience feedback form on your screen is visible, Madam Toastmaster of the day.
It was visible. I closed it because I wasn't typing on it.
Okay. Mr. President, can you see the audience feedback on your screen?
Can anyone see the audience feedback?
Anyone seeing? Yes, I can see results coming in.
Okay.
We can continue as we move along. Toastmaster of the day, continue.
Now, storytelling does not end with the telling of the story. It is refined in the reflecting. Evaluation is where good stories become great stories. It is here that we ask, did the story connect? Was the message clear? Did it move us? As storytellers, we grow not just by speaking, but by listening to how our message was received. I am now going to call on our evaluators to evaluate the speeches. But before I do so, I'm going to ask our timer to tell us the time for those two speeches. Madam Timer?
Yes, the first speaker took 6 minutes, 27 seconds. That is within time. Fatma took 22 minutes, 6 seconds, which is still within time.
Thank you, Madam Timer. Now we're going to hear from our evaluators. Now, as each evaluator comes to the floor, I ask that they craft their 30-second narration first and then go into their evaluation. We will start first with the content evaluator, followed by the delivery evaluator, followed by the language evaluator. And you will simply go consecutively without me coming back to introduce you. So as the content evaluator is finished, the content evaluator will call for the delivery evaluator, and the delivery evaluator will then call for the language evaluator. That helps us to keep time. Okay, content evaluator, Helen, the virtual lectern is yours.
Thank you, Daphne, Toastmaster of the day. I was a normal business administrator for a security company, working in the technical department where we were installing cameras, alarm systems, and access control systems. I then went out for dinner, tasted some wine that seemed to not be readily available. That was in October 2011. By January 2012, I had registered a company to import and distribute the wine that was not available. I have been doing that ever since. So for 14 years, I've been knocking doors and selling wine. And I'm now here to narrate my evaluation for Clive. So Clive, thank you for that informative speech. You had a very clear opening that started with a question to get us thinking and hooked. Your transitions were effective. After the opening, you told us the 3 things we should look out for when communicating. You gave us a story to illustrate communication given without considering the emotional state of the other person. You then concluded with the 3 points shared and told us communication only takes place when there's shared meaning. The subject was appropriate to this audience because we understood why people don't hear what you say. You reminded us to listen and be sensitive when communicating from the 3 things mentioned. You surely narrated to us in a way that got us thinking about how we communicate. The purpose of your project was for you to learn about different communication styles and identify your primary style, and for you to share the impact of your style on others. We did learn about the different communication styles, but did not identify your primary style. We did learn the impact the communication styles have on others, but we did not know how your style impacts others. You could consider working on bringing out your primary style and how it
You're muted, Helen.
Oh, really? Sorry. So I have to start again.
Not from the start.
From
You
where?
can concentrate on bringing out your primary style. That's the last thing we heard.
Sorry, just say again.
Last thing we heard was you can concentrate on bringing out your primary style.
Yeah, Clive, yes, you could consider working on bringing out your primary style and how it impacts others. You could also consider having a call to action. For example, do you know the impact of your communication style has on others? In summary, you had a clear opening, body, and conclusion. You gave us a story to illustrate. The subject was appropriate to the audience. Your narration got us thinking. Consider your primary style and how it impacts others. My take home is that communication takes place when there's shared meaning. I would now like
Have I been called to present?
Yes, Agnes.
All right, thank you. Please confirm that you can hear me. Okay. Good evening, Toastmasters. And thank you, Clive, for your speech on evaluating your voice, physical appearance, and platform. And among the things that I really enjoyed about your speech, as far as those aspects are concerned, was the fact that you were audible enough and your words were well enunciated. We could hear them so well and pick out whatever it is you were sharing in your speech. I also liked the pauses that you used at some strategic points in your speech. For example, there's a point you talked about the various foods. I remember meat at some point, and after listing that, you paused, giving us a bit of time to take in what you were sharing and to follow the story as you shared it. So I would say keep that up. What could you have improved in those specific areas as far as vocal variety is concerned? It felt a bit like a monotone to me. And how could you make it better? I have some examples for you. There's a point where you talked about 4 years ago in your story. Did it feel like a long time? Was it fast? You could use your voice to give us some emphasis. 4 years ago, or was it felt like the same throughout the other points of your speech? Then when talking about the communication styles and you gave an example of those who are fast, I would recommend you do that by being actually fast as you speak. There were also pauses. I think I mentioned pauses already. I'll move on to your appearance. We could see you, but we saw mostly the upper part of your body. I sensed you had some gestures. I could see some gestures as you transitioned from one point to another, mentioning the second part of your story. But then the way you appeared on camera limited it a little bit. I wish we could see a bigger part of you, probably from the midsection upwards. The way you position your camera can help you to deal with that. So gestures, keep it up, but the way you position your camera can help us to see more of you. Your lighting, we could see you very clearly, and you can keep that up. Overall, well done, and we appreciate your speech. Keep up the gestures, the smartness. You are very smart, and it was in line with your speech. We were inspired, so keep that up. Over to you, I see. Over to you, TMOD. Thank you.
Over to you, language evaluator.
What a wonderful speech delivered with a language that was easy to follow and easy to understand by the audience. As you even delivered your speech, what are some of the areas that I really like about your language? What is your use of rhetoric question? For example, at some point you ask, have you explained something between you and your counterpart, and the counterpart did not know how to explain? When you use this rhetorical question, this creates suspense and makes the audience want to listen to your speech. Number 2 is your use of quotes. At the end of your speech, you use this quote that communication only takes place where there is a shared meaning. By using quote, this creates suspense, which audience will drill into your message. And number 3, intents, which you are easy to understand and easy to digest by the audience. And also you try to even add more vocabulary. For example, where you said counterpart. This means the other party that you are talking with. And also, for example, at some point you said prudent. As an iron sharpens an iron, what are some of the areas you could improve in your grammar usage? One, I felt that you could have used a conversation at the point whereby you have said you are speaking with a lady. This would have even made your story even more engaging. Number 2, I noticed that you had some filler words. For example, your most used filler word was so. You can come up with other conjunctions, for example, however, or just begin your sentence without using so. This will make your message even more clear and understandable to your audience. Overall, your language was easy to understand. If you add conversation and adding more conjunction and beginning and avoiding the filler words, your language will be even more enriching. Back to you, the TMOD.
Thank you very much to our evaluator for the first speech. We are now going to have a short interlude. I'm going to tell you another story while we wait. Or I will tell you one of my favorite stories. Now, I absolutely love Anansi stories. Don't know about you, but where I come from, Anansi stories is something that we use. And why I love Anansi stories, yes, we have the moment in time. Yes, we have the conflict. Yes, we have the resolution, but we also have a lesson that we learn from each Anansi story that we hear. Anansi, this old trickster, always working tricks on others. There's always something that he's up to, but at the very end, we always learn that there is a reason for that story, and there is something that we can learn from it. So I absolutely love Anansi stories. We have another equivalent to Anansi stories in the Caribbean, Burr Rabbit stories. And those follow the same theme as our Anansi stories. Here in Montserrat, once a year, our club have a storytelling night, which is coming pretty soon. And what we're going to be doing is turning our memories into stories, and stories that give a lesson. So I encourage everyone, continue telling stories, continue crafting stories, and remember, there's certain things you want to include in your stories. You want to have that moment in time that the story is based in. There must be a conflict or some challenge, and there must be a resolution. And if you can put in a lesson, wonderful, because the lessons are what we really listen for when we listen for stories. And if you can even fit in, what can you do now that you have heard this story, even better? That is something that we learn in Toastmasters. What we call a call to action, you can have that in a story as well. And sometimes they need not stand out in exactly those ways. They can be really subtle, and you have to look for them, but they're there. Now we're going to hear from the evaluator for our second speech. And remember, each individual who comes to the stage, we want to hear the narration of your 30-second story. So please remember to do that first and then give us your evaluation. The content evaluator for our second speech is Nellie. And I can see that she's ready to narrate her story or someone else's story. Let's welcome her.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Daphne. I'll go straight to the evaluation of Fatma. Fatma will give her own story. Let me highlight what worked well. Fatma opened with a compelling question that immediately captured our attention. This was effective because it drew us, the audience, in and set a clear context for the message. The central idea of the speech was clear, relevant, and the use of personal examples made it very relatable and authentic. A professional speaker stands out not just by what they say, but how they effectively connect with their audience. Fatma's message had clarity of content. The key points were clear and logical. She had a clear introduction, body, and conclusion. She stated it out by using a metaphor of an architect, a pilot, and she expounded on these points, each one, and a guide. Each one, she had 3 of them, and each one she expounded on them thoroughly. So it was easy for us to follow her facilitation journey. Her speech was interesting, and she gave us questions. She also used visual aids. She used workbooks and yellow slips to show us how she carries out her facilitation and how she enables her participants to perform their duties very well. There was a natural progression of her story, which was very commendable. Her flip charts were very effective. My recommendation is that when you're using the flip chart, your story is about the flip chart, use AI to flip the actual context for us to have the impression of a flip chart. That is very possible. Use animation to flip as you're clicking with your cursor, flip it so that we get the sense of how you are narrating your story and how a flip chart changes. In the virtual stage or in the virtual space we are in, if you flipped it, it would have been very effective. All in all, you had a call to action that was very commendable. You summarized your points very well. You talked about architecture, you talked about the guide, and we all were very pleased with what you did. Well done, Fatma. I'm looking forward to see your next presentation. That was a strong performance, and I'm looking forward to hear your next speech. Back to you, Elizabeth. Take over from me, please. Yeah, Dr. Liz.
It was the rumbling of the stomach that always made us laugh. Every time it rumbled, we said, earthquake. Little did we know that it was this earthquake that would turn us around to a life with no mother, because that earthquake was a sign that the cancer in her stomach had grown to an extent that there was nothing more that the doctors could do. And so at the age of 55, we lost our mother. And until today, it is a pain that not even time can heal. Fatma Amiyo, behind the flip charts. Lily Waters says that the success of a presentation is not judged by knowledge given, but by what the listener receives. What I loved most about your speech delivery were three things. You interacted with the audience, connected with them, involved them, and even gave them time to answer questions as you stood and just watched and gave them time. 2, your voice variation was excellent as you transited from one aspect of your presentation to the other. We could resonate with what you are trying to tell us. Your speech was very well delivered. Point number 3, your speed of delivery was very good. It enabled you appreciate the participants and also gave us a chance as your audience to indulge in the emotions that you presented as you narrated your presentation. What can you do better? I felt that you did not use the stage appropriately. Even the virtual stage does not give you the comfort of getting stuck on one part of the stage. Secondly, your camera positioning did not give you justice because we could not see much of your torso upwards, and so we could not really appreciate your gestures as we should have. On overall, you are a good facilitator, and I cannot wait to sit and just indulge in what you will narrate to us. You bring life to the room, your voice varies with your presentation, and good preparation allows you to present with no pressure of speech. Back to you, Toastmaster. And I would like to call upon the language evaluator.
It was a good speech that was facilitated by Toastmaster Faith Amiyo. As you, when you are telling the story of how you facilitated different sessions and even attended the speaker to train a workshop. These are some of the areas I really love about your about your storytelling journey. One is
We're not hearing you, Cedric. Is he? We're not hearing
I
you.
hope you're able to hear me now.
Yes.
My internet disrupted. One of the areas I loved about your speech was the use of rhetoric question, whereby you ask, who are you going to address? Through use of rhetoric questions, this makes us to be able to, this makes the audience to have suspense and hence listen to your message. Number two is your grammar. It was rich of vocabulary, for example, at the point whereby you use words such as binoculars, architect, pilot. This added more vigor to your message. Also, your word selection was easy to understand and to follow with the audience, and your sentences were short and easy to understand. As an iron sharpens an iron, what are some of the areas of recommendation? One, I noticed that when you are delivering your message, you had the short forms. The short forms include, for example, at the point whereby you said, I did not ask. I felt that you could have done even much better if you'd have said that using long form. That is, I did not ask. By using long form, this makes you to be more even deliberate and composed, which makes your message to sink even much deeper. Number two is that I noticed you repeated this word a couple of times, facilitation or facilitate. I felt that it could have much better if you would have used another word such as, for example, a presenter or a trainer. This would reduce, would make the word not to be a filler word, because when you repeated it several, it made the word to become more of a filler word in your speech. This could have enhanced your clarity and credibility of your message. I also noticed that you had some filler words such as so and which I believe you can take pauses next time to make your message even become more clear. Overall, you excel at use of rhetorical question. Your grammar was rich of words and your sentences were clear and short and easy to understand. If you temper that with using long forms and avoiding repetition, your message will be even more appealing and engaging to the audience. Back to you.
We have now heard from our evaluators. Can we have the timer's report for the evaluations? Let's hear how long each evaluator took, and then we'll have the poll for the evaluations.
For the evaluations, Helen took 2 minutes 49 seconds within time. Agnes took 3 minutes 19 seconds within time. Cedric took, for the first speaker, he took 2 minutes 23 seconds, which is also within time. Nellie took 3 minutes 23 seconds within time. Dr. Elizabeth took 2 minutes 45 seconds, which is within time. Cedric took 3 minutes 8 seconds, which is above time. That's it. Back to you, Toastmaster of the evening.
And we now have the poll, so we can determine whose narration we can deem to be the best.
Kindly confirm that the poll is on the screen.
It is.
Thank you. 1 minute is over. Toastmaster of the day, you can continue as I add 20 more seconds to the poll.
Thank you very much, Madam Timer. Now, words are the building blocks for every story. The right word can paint a picture, stir an emotion, or bring a moment to life. This evening, we are guided by our grammarian, who will help us sharpen not just what we say, but how we say it. Listen closely. You may just discover a word that transforms your next story. Mr. Grammarian, the virtual lectern is yours.
Thank you for your wonderful narration of your message. As the grammarian, I was taking care of our usage of the word of the day, which was narration. And according to my count, I believe that the word of the day was used a total of 3 times. It was used one time by the TMOD and it was used twice by the TMOD and one time by the first content evaluator. Coming to my second part of my report, which is on incorrect grammar use. I picked this. We had one who said any style she chooses. I believe that it would have been even much better if he said any style she chose. Also, I picked another improper grammatical whereby one of the speakers said that he said that professions who designs buildings, that I felt that it would have been better if you had to say profession who design. Also, I picked another grammatical error at this point whereby someone said take us through. It would have been much better if you take you through, because it was referring to us who he was delivering the message. Coming to our outstanding words that I noticed, I picked one word. One word that I picked. The first word is mesmerized, which means to be fascinated. I also picked resent, which means to upset. I also picked one quote, which is communication only takes us the place where there is a shared meaning. We had several use of rhetorical questions from the speakers, which I had already given. Coming to our usage of filler words, I picked the time I used one arm. The general evaluator had one saw. Also, he had one arm and 2 are. The Toastmaster of the day, he had cases of repetition. I felt that if to make us to reduce the filler word and make our message clear, we take a purposeful pause and continue incorporating the word of the day in our daily conversation and even in our monthly conversation as we narrate stories to other people. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Grammarian. So we have heard how we are to use words as building blocks for our stories. We now need to ensure that we go away and work on our words, the words that we put into our stories. I will now call on our general evaluator, who has been listening intently and will come and narrate what he thought was done well and where improvements can be made. Let's welcome our general evaluator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the evening. After joining Toastmasters and staying for 5 years, I thought I had a lot of skills that I could use in running my own business as an entrepreneur. So I quit my job. And this caused a lot of havoc at home. My wife was in shock for 1 week My kids did not understand. My mother said all sorts of things. My friend said, I will never survive. But the reason I joined Toastmasters was to get to understand exactly what I could do. But one of the things I wasn't able to do better was to speak in Swahili. So I got together with some friends, and that's how we found Watabaruku as a club. And I look forward to coming to listen to the narratives that were going to be shared tonight. I've thoroughly been impressed by everyone narrating at their own level what it means to be a Toastmaster. And when I joined, one of the things that caught my attention was a meeting that starts on time. We've advocated for that and has been narrated many times, and I'm so glad we could exemplify that today. The introductions were powerful. The president ran that session professionally the way Watabaruku does things, from what I know. When the online statement was written, I know a lot of people join Toastmasters meetings, but they never know what goes on. They were involved from the word go by that online statement. The business session, which was mentioned at the beginning that I set my eyes on, I will wait to listen to what it is at the end and give part of that feedback, a written communication in terms of report. The theme was powerful. Every time we speak, introduce ourselves, do all sorts of things, we use a narrative and we narrate things, stories about our lives. And I can see that was very well done. Very motivating meeting. The meeting guide was sent well in advance. Nobody could get lost. I didn't get lost. I listened very clearly all the way. The super grammarian set the stage. These are things that helps us to do a lot more than what we just do. I'll be coming back to some grammarian grammar areas that we could improve. The speeches were informative, entertaining, calming, and engaging. I was thoroughly engaged, and I feel I need to thank Kevin for insisting that I become general evaluator in this meeting. I thoroughly enjoyed coming back home. One thing that really caught my attention was the application of timing, getting the timing and finding out how much time people took during table topics, during the speeches and the evaluation. Powerful segment of a good meeting that shows that Toastmasters meetings start at the beginning on time and ends on time. A true professional club, I must say. The evaluations were to the point, they were well done, and they pointed well done areas and areas of improvement. The tone of evaluation delivery was empowering and friendly. I thoroughly enjoyed that too. A pre-approach to this meeting was the very part that I really liked, because the information that went out in terms of preparing the role takers, even the pre-approach during the meeting before, the pre-meeting before this meeting, which I watched on video, was powerful for those who could not join the dry run. They managed to watch it, and I'm one of them. I was thoroughly informed. Truly a model club. Watabaruku, congratulations. Now, what are some of the areas of improvement that we could work on? One is making joining a little easier. It's a little tedious for those who are late. I was just trying to imagine what happens when somebody is late and they want to join quickly. So let's make it a little faster. Perhaps join 15 minutes before and have some social moments. Human capital is critical, and that is when we interact as men and women. The business session, I loved it at the beginning, what was done. I'll wait for the end. The word is gestures, not gestures. So pronounce it right. Gestures, not gestures. The word is evaluation, not evaluation. So just get it right. And perhaps before handing over the meeting, this should be done right at the end. Have the general evaluator report at the very end, then hand it over to the president or to the Toastmaster of the evening, just like I'm doing right now. It's been a prompt, pleasing pleasure, as well as a privilege to generally evaluate one of the most powerful meetings under the earth. Over to you, Toastmaster of the evening.
As we listened to the narrative from our general evaluator, we heard the areas that we are already doing well, and we want to continue them. We also heard areas for improvement. You yourself may have other areas that you can think of that you can improve in. Go away, work on them so that the next time you come to this platform, you are ready to tell your stories or narrate your stories in a great way. Now, before I hand over, I want to just go through this. We heard stories, but more importantly, we made connections through those mini stories each person told. We learned something about you that we may never have known. Tonight reminded us that storytelling is not reserved for authors or speakers. It's really a skill that we all carry and we can all use. So as you leave, I challenge you. Don't just share information. Next time you stand to speak, storytell it. Because somewhere, someone is waiting, not just to hear your words, but to feel your stories. Because remember, stories make us feel. I will now pass back to our presiding officer.
Thank you so much, Madam Toastmaster of the Day, Daphne. Let's put our hands together. Let's use those emojis to show her some love, to thank her for help guiding this meeting in such an expert way. You've taken the Toastmaster role to another level, shown us how to really do it with excellence and to have fun while doing it. Thank you so much, Daphne, for joining us this evening. We really, really have appreciated all those lessons that you have shared with us in the course of this evening. It really, really has helped educated us and entertained us at the same time. So thank you so much. We hope to see you back on the TMOD role at some time in the future. And going quickly to the closing section of our meeting, I would like to announce the results of the poll. Drum roll, please. The best evaluator. There's a tie. It was Helen Wacera and Dr. Elizabeth Owino. Congratulations on being voted the best evaluators. And for the best speaker, drum rolls. Congratulations, Fatma Amiyo, on being voted the best speaker for this evening. Great job to everyone. We are continuing to receive submissions for the renewal, so please reach out to our Vice President membership, Gilbert Rutembembero, if you'd like to join Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club, or if you're a member and you would like to renew, please reach out to Sarah Wanjiku on how to submit your payments. Also, feel free to reach out to our Vice President Education, Kevin Rubia DTM, if you would like to take a role in our future meeting. And now I'd like to give our guests, one or two of our guests, an opportunity to tell us what you thought of our meeting this evening. It was so good to have each and every one of you with us. So please, guests, please tell us, what did you think of our meeting? How could you get better? What did you enjoy? Anybody who would like to tell us? Sonja.
Well, if no one is going to tell you, I can tell you what I enjoyed.
All right.
I enjoyed those mini stories, learning something about each individual who came to the stage. That's what I enjoyed. I love stories.
Absolutely. It was really an amazing thing to listen to each and every one of those 30-minute stories just to get to know us. So many of us. I've known quite a number of us for a long time, and I've never actually got to know those aspects of our lives. And so it was amazing to listen to them. Thank you so much to every one of us. We hope to see you in future meetings. Our next meeting is going to be on the 8th of May, same time, same place. It's going to be online. Thank you so much to our members, visitors, visiting Toastmasters for making the time to be with us this evening. We look forward to seeing you again. Have an amazing evening. Have a great weekend ahead, and see you on the next one. Bye-bye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much. Let me play some music to see us off.
So I'm just going through the chat. Okay, I've got finished. So I'm off now. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Good night, everyone.
Good night.